T.I.'s son, King Harris, has been arrested after not appearing in court and some other things connected to his actions.
So him being arrested isn't really like the shocker. It's him coming out and his, I guess, reaction to it, right? Because everybody's saying, King, you grew up privileged, bro. Why are you going down this path? Now he's talking about F the police, F12. So, you know, it just, he just don't.
The night everything shattered didn't begin with sirens. It began with a whisper that turned into a warning that turned into a desperate plea, and a plea that was completely, brutally ignored. Because behind closed doors, far away from flashing cameras and perfectly edited reality TV scenes, one of hip-hop's most powerful fathers was losing control of the one person he could never afford to lose. T.I. wasn't just speaking. He was begging, voice raised, hands shaking, words cracking under pressure as if he already knew what was coming, as if he could see the flashing lights before they ever appeared, as if he could hear the jail cell doors slam shut before his son ever stepped foot inside a courtroom. Stop, he told him. But King Harris didn't stop. Not when the warnings came. Not when the threats escalated. Not even when everything around him started collapsing in real time. Because what the public didn't see, what nobody was supposed to see, was that this wasn't just rebellion. This was a spiral. A fast, violent, unstoppable spiral fueled by ego.
And, I gave him an apology.
You apologize?
Yeah, I gave him an apology, because after we kept going back and forth, the things he was doing for me in my life at the time, I kind of felt bad. I kind of felt bad. He was doing some
pressure
real
and something much darker lurking
ways
beneath the surface. And now there are police reports. Now there are leaked messages. Now there are witnesses talking. Now there are videos that were never supposed to go public. And now, King Harris has been arrested. But that's not even the most shocking part. Because insiders are saying the arrest didn't surprise T.I. at all. They're saying he saw this coming weeks ago.
Trust nobody. Hollywood, specifically, when you get there, a lot of people don't know how to say no. That's the difference between New York City and
maybe even months ago. They're saying there was a moment, a specific moment, where everything could have been stopped. And King chose to ignore it. Flat out. Cold. No hesitation. No fear. No respect. And that decision? It may have just detonated one of the most explosive family implosions the hip-hop world has ever seen. Because the deeper you go into this story, the darker it gets. We're talking secret recordings.
To do that if it wasn't for Family Hustle. Right. Now, it does come with some, it's some adversity. It's some adversity to come with that. People get in your bed.
Explosive confrontations caught on camera. Industry insiders leaking details they were never supposed to share. Friends turning into enemies overnight. And a social media war so chaotic, it's dragging in celebrities who have nothing to do with the situation, but everything to gain from the fallout. And just when you think it couldn't get worse, there's another layer. A betrayal no one saw coming. A name being whispered behind the scenes that could completely flip this entire situation upside down. And if what's being said is true, this isn't just about an arrest anymore. This is about control, power, reputation, and a father watching his legacy crack right in front of him, with no way to stop it. Because the real question isn't why King Harris got arrested. The real question is, why didn't he listen? And what exactly was he trying to prove when everything was already on the line? Because what happens next? Nobody is ready for it. And once you hear what really went down before those cuffs went on, you might never look at this family the same way again. The moment the video leaked, everything changed. Not slowly, not quietly, instantly. Phones started buzzing. Group chats exploded. Screenshots flew across timelines like wildfire. And within minutes, the internet wasn't just watching. It was dissecting, replaying, zooming in on every second of footage that was never supposed to leave that room. Because there it was. Raw, unfiltered, uncomfortable. T.I. standing face to face with his own son, not as a rap icon, not as a mogul, but as a father on the edge of losing everything. Why are you doing this? He demanded, voice tight, eyes locked in. But King didn't flinch. Not even a little. That's what made the clip so chilling. No apology. No hesitation. No fear. Just silence, followed by a smirk that sent the entire internet into a frenzy. And that smirk? It lit the fuse. Because within hours, anonymous accounts started posting what they claimed were leaked messages, private conversations that painted a completely different picture of what had been happening behind the scenes. Messages where T.I. wasn't just warning his son. He was pleading, "I can't protect you from this," one alleged text read. Another? "You're moving like you want to crash out." And then the one that hit the hardest, the one fans couldn't stop reposting. "If something happens, I won't be able to fix it this time." That line didn't just trend. It haunted people, because suddenly, the arrest didn't feel random anymore. It felt inevitable. But here's where it gets darker. Because while the public was just starting to process those messages, insiders were already dropping something even more explosive. There was audio. A recording. A private confrontation that reportedly took place just weeks before everything went sideways. And according to multiple sources, it wasn't calm. It wasn't controlled. It was chaos. Voices raised. Accusations flying. Furniture moving in the background. Someone yelling, "You think this is a game?" And then, T.I.'s voice again. Louder this time. Desperate. "Do you understand what's coming for you?" That question, King allegedly laughed. Laughed. That single reaction sent shockwaves through everyone who heard about it. Because it confirmed what people were starting to fear. This wasn't just rebellion. This was defiance on another level. The kind that doesn't stop until something breaks. And something did break. Because fast forward to that October night. The traffic stop. The flashing blue lights cutting through the dark. Officers approaching the vehicle slowly, cautiously, as if they already knew who they were dealing with. Because by that point, King Harris wasn't just another name. He was already flagged, already watched, already on a list. And when they ran his information, that's when everything snapped into place. Outstanding warrant. Previous incident. And now, a weapon reportedly on him. In that moment, it was over. No arguments. No second chances. Just cold steel cuffs clicking shut. And just like that, the son of a hip-hop legend was no longer trending for music, or interviews, or controversy. He was trending for an arrest. But what made it explode even harder was what happened next. Because instead of silence, instead of laying low, King came out swinging. Live streams, rants, defiance. "I don't care," he said, over and over again. "I don't care." And the internet lost its mind. Fans turned into critics overnight. Clips went viral with captions like, "He really doesn't get it," and T.I. tried to warn him. Even people who had supported King before started backing away, questioning everything. "Why would you throw it all away?" One viral tweet read. "You had everything." But King wasn't backing down. If anything, he was doubling down. And that's when another layer hit. Because while all this chaos was unfolding, another name started creeping into the conversation. Quietly at first, then louder, then impossible to ignore. Rumors, connections, whispers about someone close to the family, someone who had recently made peace with T.I., now somehow being linked to the narrative tearing his son apart. And the moment that name started trending, everything got more dangerous. Because this wasn't just about a father and a son anymore. This was about alliances, about trust, about who's really on your side when everything starts collapsing. And insiders are saying T.I. saw that shift in real time, saw the headlines, saw the speculation, and realized something terrifying. This situation wasn't just spiraling, it was spreading, out of his control, into places he couldn't reach, into people he couldn't silence. And just when it looked like things couldn't get any worse, a new clip surfaced. Short, grainy, but devastating. Because this time, it wasn't T.I. speaking, it was King. And what he said in those few seconds might have just destroyed any chance of fixing what was left. That clip didn't just go viral. It detonated. No warning, no build-up, just instant, uncontrollable chaos. Because the second King's voice hit the timeline, everything shifted from speculation to something that felt dangerously real. "I said what I said," he snapped in the video, eyes locked into the camera like he was daring the world to react. "Ain't nobody checking me. Not his father. Not the police. Not the industry. Nobody." And just like that, whatever sympathy he had left, gone, obliterated in seconds. The backlash was immediate and ruthless. Comment sections turned into war zones. Fans who once defended him were now dragging him. Old clips resurfaced. Interviews, live streams, moments where people claimed the warning signs were always there. But it didn't stop there. Because within hours of that clip circulating, something even more explosive dropped. Another leak. This time, it wasn't video. It was a voice note. And according to insiders, this one was never supposed to exist outside a very small circle. The audio starts low. Background noise. Movement. Then a voice. Shaky. Tense. T.I., you don't understand what they're doing, he says, almost under his breath. A pause. Then King cuts in. I don't care what they're doing. Cold. Flat. Final. And then the part that sent shockwaves through everyone who heard it. They need me more than I need them. That line, it didn't just raise eyebrows. It raised questions. Dangerous ones. Because who exactly was they? The industry? The streets? Someone behind the scenes pulling strings nobody's talking about publicly? And suddenly, this wasn't just about reckless behavior anymore. This started looking like influence. Like someone, or something, was feeding the fire, fueling the defiance, encouraging the spiral. That's when the rumors stopped being whispers and started becoming narratives. Names began circulating again, louder this time, more direct. Threads connecting dots that may or may not have been real, but felt real enough to ignite millions of views. Screenshots of alleged DMs, clips taken out of context, old photos reappearing with new captions, and right in the center of it all, that same name that had quietly crept into the story before. Now impossible to ignore, because fans weren't just speculating anymore, they were accusing. Look who he's been around lately. Look who he's listening to. This ain't random. And as those theories spread, something else happened behind the scenes. Something way more serious. Because according to multiple insiders, T.I. didn't just see the chaos unfolding. He tried to shut it down. Immediately, calls were made. Messages were sent. People were confronted. And one of those confrontations allegedly turned explosive. We're talking shouting, finger pointing. A heated exchange where voices were raised so loud. People nearby reportedly stopped what they were doing just to listen. You playing both sides? One voice reportedly yelled. No, you don't got control, another fired back. And right, in the middle of it, tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Because this wasn't just about protecting a son anymore. This was about betrayal, or at least the fear of it. And the scariest part? Nobody could confirm who was telling the truth. Because while all of this was happening privately, the public side of the story was spiraling even faster. Celebrities started chiming in. Some subtle, some not. One artist tweeted, "Money don't fix discipline." Another posted a cryptic message. "Fathers can warn you, but they can't walk your path." Fans immediately connected the dots. Reactions piled up. Think pieces dropped. YouTube channels started breaking everything down frame by frame, word by word, building timelines that made the situation look even more chaotic than it already was. And then came the live stream, the one that took everything from messy to completely unhinged. King, back on camera, this time more animated, more aggressive, more unpredictable. "I ain't apologizing for nothing," he said, pacing back and forth. Comments flooding in faster than they could be read. Some telling him to calm down, others egging him on. And then, right in the middle of it, someone typed a name. That name, the same one tied to the rumors. King paused, looked at the screen, smirked, and said 5 words that instantly sent the entire internet into meltdown mode. "Y'all don't know the half." That was it. That was all it took. Because suddenly, everything felt bigger than what was being shown. Like there was another layer nobody fully understood. Another story hiding underneath the one playing out in public. And if King was hinting at something deeper, something darker, then what exactly wasn't being said? What was he holding back? Or worse, what was he being pulled into? Meanwhile, behind closed doors, T.I. was reportedly reaching a breaking point. Because sources close to the situation say the conversations between father and son had completely collapsed. No more calm talks. No more guidance. Just frustration, silence, and distance. The kind of distance that doesn't just happen overnight, it builds. And once it's there, it's almost impossible to close. But just when it seemed like things couldn't get any more volatile, another bomb dropped. Legal updates. New details about the arrest. Information that painted an even more serious picture than anyone initially thought. And when those details hit the internet, even the people who had been defending King started going quiet. Because this time it wasn't just attitude. It wasn't just rebellion. It was consequences. Real ones. The kind that don't disappear after a viral moment. The kind that follow you. That define you. That changed everything. And as the reality of that started sinking in, one final piece of the puzzle surfaced. A detail so unexpected, so perfectly timed, that it made people start asking a question nobody had considered before. What if this wasn't just a meltdown? What if this was something bigger? Something orchestrated? Or at the very least, something someone else was benefiting from? Because the deeper this story goes, the less it feels like coincidence, and the more it feels like a setup waiting to be exposed. And just when it felt like the chaos had reached its peak, it cracked open even further. Because that final detail everyone thought was just another rumor, it came with receipts. Not polished, not verified, but real enough to send shockwaves through every corner of the internet. A timeline. A messy, chaotic, too perfect to ignore timeline that started connecting everything. King's outbursts, the arrest, the leaks, the live streams, and placing them side by side with something nobody had fully paid attention to before. The moments right before everything escalated. According to insiders, there were meetings. Quiet ones. Off camera. People coming and going. Conversations happening behind closed doors. Calls that lasted too long to be casual and too secretive to be innocent. And right in the middle of that timeline, that same name, popping up again, and again, and again. At first, people brushed it off. Coincidence. Clout chasing. Internet detectives reaching too far. But then the screenshots started lining up. Dates matching. Locations overlapping. Moments where King's energy suddenly shifted, lining up perfectly with those behind-the-scenes interactions. And suddenly, it didn't feel random anymore. It felt coordinated. Now here's where it gets explosive. Because while the internet was busy connecting dots, someone from inside the circle, someone claiming to have direct knowledge, dropped a message that flipped everything upside down. Not publicly, privately. Sent to a gossip page that had already been covering the situation. And within minutes, it leaked. The message was short, almost too simple, but devastating. This didn't start with him. He was pushed. That line alone would have been enough to spark chaos. But it didn't stop there. The message continued. They knew exactly what buttons to press. They wanted this reaction. Now the narrative changed. Completely. Because if that was true, then this wasn't just a young man spiraling out of control. This was a reaction. A triggered explosion. Something engineered, or at least manipulated. And if someone really was behind the scenes pushing things in that direction, then the question wasn't just why King ignored his father. It was who made sure he would. Meanwhile, as this theory started spreading like wildfire, something else happened that nobody was prepared for. T.I. broke his silence. Not in an interview, not in a polished statement, but in a raw, emotional moment that insiders say wasn't even supposed to go public. A clip surfaced, low quality, clearly recorded without permission. T.I. sitting down, head in his hands, voice heavy. "This ain't what I wanted for him," he said. No performance, no bravado, just a father. And then the part that hit hardest. "I tried." That was it. No long speech, no explanation. Just two words that carried years of pressure, frustration, and what sounded like defeat. "I tried." The internet froze. Because for the first time in this entire storm, the image cracked. The untouchable persona? Gone. Replaced by something real. Something human. And for a brief moment, people felt it. Sympathy came back. Support messages started flooding in. But just as quickly as that wave built, it crashed. Because while T.I. was showing vulnerability, King was doing the exact opposite. Another post. Another statement. Another moment that felt like gasoline on an already raging fire. "No regrets," he wrote. Two words. Two completely different worlds. A father saying, "I tried." A son saying, "I don't care." And just like that, the divide became undeniable. Unfixable. Now the industry is watching. Quietly. Carefully. Because what's happening isn't just personal anymore. It's public. It's messy. And it's pulling in more attention by the hour. Executives. Artists. People who usually stay silent. They're paying attention now. Because there's something bigger at play. Something unresolved. And then, just when it felt like the story couldn't twist any further, another development dropped. Legal movement. Fast. Unexpected. Closed-door discussions. Possible outcomes shifting behind the scenes. And according to sources close to the situation, there's a decision coming. One that could change everything. Because if things go one way, this becomes a temporary scandal. A headline that fades. A lesson learned too late. But if it goes the other way, this turns permanent. Records, consequences, a mark that doesn't disappear when the cameras turn off. And the most chilling part? King still doesn't seem fazed at all. Which brings us back to the question that started all of this. Why didn't he listen? Was it pride, pressure, influence, or something deeper that hasn't fully come to light yet? Because one thing is clear, this story isn't finished. Not even close. There are still gaps, still unanswered questions, still pieces missing from a puzzle that's getting darker by the minute. And if even half of what insiders are hinting it turns out to be true, then what we've seen so far is just the beginning. Because sometimes the loudest chaos is just a distraction from what's really happening underneath. And whatever that is, it's coming to the surface next. So if you thought this was shocking, you haven't seen anything yet. Make sure you stay locked in, because the next update might change everything you thought you knew about this situation. If you've made it this far, then you already know this isn't just another celebrity headline you scroll past and forget. This is one of those stories that keeps unfolding, layer by layer, and every new detail hits harder than the last. And the scariest part? We're still nowhere near the full truth. Because right now, pieces are still moving behind the scenes. People are still talking. More clips, more leaks, more twists could drop at any second. And when they do, they're going to flip this entire situation on its head all over again. So don't just watch this and disappear. If you've got a theory about what's really going on, drop it in the comments. If you think there's something deeper behind all this chaos, say it. Because the conversation around this story is only getting louder, and the people paying attention early are always the ones who catch what everyone else misses later. Hit like right now if you felt how intense this situation really is, because that tells the algorithm this story matters, and trust me, it does. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next update could come out of nowhere, and when it does, you do not want to be the one hearing about it late, after the narrative has already shifted again. Stay locked in, stay watching, because this story, it's far from over.